everyone, this is another cooking tutorial with me, Katie, and this morning we're going to make a breakfast staple, pancakes! So this is a kind of make your own pancakes recipe. I know a bunch of people just use pre-made batter, but you know, if you don't have that and you wake up and you're feeling super Instagram aesthetic, or you have a big group coming over like, oh no, I forgot my whole family's coming over, I need a big breakfast. This is perfect for you. Most of these things are things you should already have in your kitchen, so it's just a quick 20-minute thing, but you can just kind of whip up and people will come and be like, oh wow, you're so cool, you made pancakes from scratch, you're amazing. But it's actually super easy. So let's get down to it. So we're going to start with our dry ingredients, which I've already measured out over here. So we're going to go ahead and add into a bowl 1.5 cups of flour. Make sure to get it all in there. And then 3.5 teaspoons of baking powder. There we go. And then just a little less than a tablespoon of sugar. And this is just going to help make it so our pancakes just don't taste like egg, which, you know, no bueno. We want them to taste warm and sweet and delicious. And then we're just going to take a fork and we're just going to kind of mix up our dry ingredients here. And this is just going to kind of help make sure everything's really well incorporated, so you don't have to like whisk it for hours and hours. Just kind of give it a little stir around with your fork, kind of fold its stuff in a little bit. Don't go too crazy, you don't want it flying everywhere. Just like so. And then we'll just add in our wet ingredients. So here are our wet ingredients, and we're going to mix them in a separate bowl to make sure they are fully incorporated before we mix them in with our dry ingredients. So what I've got here is I've got 3 tablespoons of melted butter. There we go. 1.25 cups of milk. Just one there. And then just crack 1 egg into the bowl. There we go. And then we'll just take our little fork here and using circle-like motions, go ahead and just whisk everything together. Like that. Finally, we're going to take our fork here and make a small well in our dry ingredients. Like that. And then we're going to take our wet ingredients and kind of obviously pour them into our well. Perfect. And then we're just gonna whisk them together with our fork. You can do some circle motions, just really make sure, kind of like if you were using a spatula, that you're getting all the stuff on the side. Make sure you scrape at the bottom, because all that flour is just gonna wanna hide at the bottom, but don't you let it. Just mix it up here. You don't wanna beat too hard, and I'll get to why that is more in just a second. Just make sure you get everything there. Kind of scoop up the bottom. Make sure everything's really well incorporated. And one more good stir there. There we go. Now if you'll see this batter, it still has some lumps in it. And that is super, super important for pancakes. We don't want it to be too lumpy, but you also still want to see a lot of these little lumps here. If you beat all those away, essentially what you've done is you've beaten all the gluten out of your pancakes. You've beaten it so hard that when they finally cook, they're going to be really chewy and flat. They're not going to be that nice fluffy pancake that you might be looking for. And in my opinion, that's not great. My grandma actually makes them like that, which is why we have eggs and not pancakes at my grandma's house. So this is all set, and we're just going to go ahead and throw it on the frying pan then. So I've got my frying pan here. I have my heat set to a nice medium low, and with a little bit of water in my hands, I'm just gonna flick some water on there. And when you kind of hear it start to sizzle, that's how you know your oil is hot enough, your pan is hot enough, and you are ready to start cooking pancakes. So with just a 1/4 measuring cup, I'm gonna scoop up some of my dough and transfer it over to my pan here, and just very quickly get it on there. Perfect. And then I can probably get about 2, 3, 4 if, you know, we want them to be pretty close buddies. I like to just do 3 in a pan about this size. Just make sure they're nice and evenly spaced there because they are gonna spread out. And then we'll just wait for them to cook. Alright, so our pancakes should be just about ready to flip. As you can see, they've gotten nice and puffy. And if you kind of go close, you can start to see that a lot of these air bubbles, which were popping all the time earlier, have slowed down in their consistency a lot. So that should be a good indicator to you that these bad boys are ready to flip. So just kind of get under there, flip, flip. That was a bad flip, but a flip's a flip. You can see they're nice and cooked through. They're starting to get that golden color. If I want them to get a little bit more golden, I can let them cook on that side a little bit more. I didn't mention it earlier, and probably should have. In the pan here, I just went ahead right before my pan got hot, put in a little splash of canola oil, and then kind of shook my pan, just spread it around. You don't have to have anything in your pan, but I would highly, highly recommend it, especially if you want this nice golden color. You can use canola oil, you can use butter, you could use a little bit of coconut oil. If you're really in a pinch, you could use olive oil. I wouldn't highly recommend it. You probably get a little bit of a weird taste with your pancakes, but hey, if you've ever looked at it and been like, pancakes, olive oil, I love that combination, go for it. And we're just gonna let these cook for another 2 minutes. They don't cook as long once you flipped them, so it should only take about a minute or 2, and these will be all cooked, and then we get to eat some pancakes. So we'll see you in a little bit. Okay, so it's been about 2.5 minutes, so our pancakes should be nice and done at this point. And we can even just go ahead and give it a little check there. Yes, looks perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and transfer these over to the plate I have in waiting. And that's how you make some pancakes. So hopefully you guys can go ahead and use this recipe. So if you're ever in the mood for pancakes and don't have any box mix on hand, you can just go ahead and use some staples in your kitchen to be able to make yourself a nice, delicious batch of pancakes. Something I want to show you guys how to do real fast is to make pancakes with things in them. So this is pretty easy. It's pretty much like how we make our normal pancakes, where we're just going to go ahead and put our dough in. Nice little batter there. There we go. And then as soon as you put it in, you need to go ahead and put whatever your add-ons are in. So for this one, I'm going to splurge a little bit and put in a few chocolate chips. One more there. There we go. And then just let that cook. But it's really, really important that you get it in as soon as your batter hits the pan. That way it can fully incorporate it. And then when we flip it, just be aware that this will increase your cook time a little bit. So just give yourself another 1.5 to 2 minutes of cooking, just because remember, you've just added stuff to your batter, so it is going to take a little bit longer to cook. Thank you guys so much for watching, and keep on cooking.